Now, some of you guys might have seen this clip that's been going around recently of David, spelled d4vd, just casually on a live stream with some of his friends. And at one point during the stream, out of nowhere, he stops the conversation to apologize for a smell coming from inside his house. And this clip has been gaining a lot of traction lately, and it's actually kind of creepy when you really pay attention to it. Before we even get to that, you already know we covered the broader situation that's been going on with David. We went over the case, the timeline prosecutors are building, and the details that have come out so far. Right now, a preliminary hearing is scheduled for May 26th, where the court is going to decide whether this case moves forward to trial. That hearing is expected to last a few days, and it was actually pushed back to give the defense more time to review the evidence against David. So as we wait for that, of course, more conversations are going to be had around this case. But this clip right here is one that's been circulating the past few days. And in this video, David is on a stream with a few friends. One of them is a girl, actually don't know who she is, but the other one is Langston. Now, Langston, we've already talked about him before. This is the same friend who was supposed to testify in front of the grand jury, didn't show up and ended up getting arrested, and law enforcement basically dragged his ass back to Los Angeles. So that's who's sitting there in this clip. And this stream is apparently from July 4th, 2025, which, if you remember the timeline, places it right in the middle of everything that prosecutors are now pointing to. Because according to the case, David was still in Los Angeles around that time before leaving later that month for his tour. And investigators say he was the last person seen driving the vehicle connected to the case on July 29, 2025. So this stream happens just weeks before that. Now, at one point in this stream, David essentially interrupts the conversation to apologize for a smell.
ABC. Oh yes, I apologize in advance for the way my bathroom smelled. I took a shit into it.
I don't care, I just took a
Another one? Alright, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Yep. I had to go.
Look at my wall.
He specifically apologizes for the way his bathroom smells and says it's because he used it a couple hours earlier. Now, on its own, that doesn't really seem like anything, just a random moment during a live stream. But when you look at what prosecutors are alleging, that's where things start to line up in a different way. Because in court documents, they claim that he lied to friends and others who were around him who noticed a strong smell coming from his home and even his vehicle. A smell they described as the decay of Celeste's body. So when you put those things side by side, the timeline and then this clip, you can start to see why people are bringing it up now. And even in the video itself, if you look at Neo's reaction in that moment, it's kind of subtle, but it stands out. He's obviously, not really buying whatever David is trying to sell him and trying to explain as the smell here. And again, none of this on its own proves anything, but it does add another layer to a timeline that's still being built out. And that's really why this clip is getting all this attention. Not because of what it is on the surface, but because of when it happened. Now, it's important to be clear here. We don't know exactly what prosecutors are basing that smell claim on. It could be witness testimony. It could be other forms of evidence. Honestly, it's probably a mix of different things. That part hasn't been fully laid out publicly. All we know is the story they've built out and the things that they are alleging. And I guess the details in the middle, we're going to have to kind of figure out as things develop. Now, as far as Neo, the same friend seen in this clip, who of course already has been brought into this case as a witness, when you actually take a look at him, he's honestly one of the only people we can actually put a face to witness-wise. We know family members were subpoenaed. We know others were involved behind the scenes as well. Now, when it comes to David's actual friend group, Neo is really the only one we've gotten confirmation on being directly connected to this case. And that's what makes this moment stand out a little more, because he's right there in the same room during that interaction. Now, interestingly enough, as for Neo, he's actually kind of been distancing himself from all this. Back in March, he actually put up an Instagram story where he addressed the whole thing. But instead of actually, addressing what was going on, his wording was very vague, referring to things like what I was arrested for. And he didn't even mention Celeste by name. He just said victim, which I thought was very interesting. Now, to be clear, none of that proves anything on its own, but it does raise questions about how he's approaching all of this publicly. Because on one hand, he's allegedly cooperating with the police, and on the other hand, his own statements seem more focused on distancing himself than actually addressing what happened. And obviously, it's an ongoing case. I get it. But that's also exactly why, if you know you ain't gonna say shit, it's probably better to not say nothing at all. Excuse my French. And I think that's part of why this clip feels so eerie, because this is one of those few times where you're actually seeing a moment caught on camera that people can now hold up against what prosecutors are alleging, especially now that we know the story they've built out. Now again, what the prosecution is claiming is that he ordered items like chainsaws, a body bag, heavy duty bags, and even a blue inflatable pool, which according to court documents was allegedly used in the garage to prevent blood from spilling onto the floor. And in those same filings, prosecutors alleged that David dismembered Celeste using the tools he had ordered. And at the same time, this is where the clip in question comes in. They also claim that people around him had already noticed a strong smell coming from his home, the same home where Celeste was allegedly murdered. So when you put this next to all this clip specifically where he's casually apologizing for a smell and brushing it off as something normal, you can see why people are starting to connect the dots and why they're giving this clip so much attention. And obviously this clip itself doesn't prove anything on its own, but it does line up with what's being alleged here. And if those allegations are true, then a moment like this wouldn't really feel so random anymore. Very creepy. It would actually fit into that timeline, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. Because at the end of the day, everything is about how stuff gets interpreted. So we don't really know if law enforcement is kind of using this as some type of evidence. Meanwhile, David is currently behind bars and his defense is preparing for what's shaping up to be a very hard case to fight. So at this point, the case is still unfolding. We don't know what's going to come next aside from the preliminary hearing, which is on May 26th. But this clip right here is definitely sticking with a lot of people because in the moment, nobody knows what it is that this person is referring to until you look at it through everything that came after and everything that we now know. And that's why this one clip is getting all this attention right now. But I'm curious what you guys think, because personally, I don't think that smell had anything to do with a bathroom trip, but that's just me. If you made it this far, drop a like on this video and subscribe if you're new here. My name is Blackie Speaks. Nice to meet you. And y'all let me know in the comment section below what you think. And of course, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace. I'm out.